This is Norman Liss inviting you to a special edition of The Way to Go. Today's program is a preview of a new future series that will be hosted by Bram, Artistic Director of the Phoenix Theater. I'm sure you will enjoy his interesting interview, and I'll be back with you next week at the same time. And now, Bram Lewis.
Welcome. My name is Bram Lewis. I run the Phoenix Theater here in Westchester. This is my very first show. It is called In the Wings. It will be my joy to bring people that I think are very important to the world of theater into this show to talk about anything we care to talk about. So thanks for joining us, and I want to introduce my very first and arguably my best guest I could have possibly chosen, Alvin Klein, who is with the New York Times, is the regional theater critic for the New York Times, and as such he covers anything that's theater that's going on. Well, I better ask you this.
In the tri-state area.
What do you do? When someone says to you, here's a tough question for you right off the bat. When someone says to you, gee, Mr. Klein, what is it that you do for a living? Is there an easy way to answer that?
No.
I figured as much.
So I don't bother.
Is there any way that I can...
Don't even try it.
Well, is there any way that I can...
Well, usually I'm asked, like, on what level do you approach a play? A question like that, I say usually the orchestra. Or how do you approach a play? They're usually by taxi. I mean, you know, it sounds pretty flippant. I'm very good at avoidance. I do not suffer from denial, but avoidance is...
This is a distinction that's very important in all of life. It seems to have done wonders for the careers of lawyers and others. So I can see that writing for the Times has been good training for this.
Well, we have 4 regional sections, of which Westchester is one, and New Jersey is another. That's states. Connecticut, another state, and Long Island, 2 counties. So there are those 4 sections, and now there is the city section, which is the regional section for New York. So 4 of those have theater, which a lot of people who are kind of New York or Manhattan chauvinists, and they regard theater as Mecca if it's Broadway or off-Broadway, don't seem to think that it exists everywhere, all around us. Not just all the world's a stage, but even the suburbs.
One of the complaints I once said to you about Frank Rich, in fact recently, was that Frank Rich seemed to have such a focus, to me anyway, on anything that was from 42nd Street to up about Lincoln Center, which is 64th Street in New York.
That's a lot of territory because you have 20 or some odd, I do mean odd, openings on Broadway every season. And then you have, I remember when there used to be 60, 70, a few decades ago. Then you have all the off-Broadway stuff. And his territory is really vast, quantitatively as far as plays. I think that mine is vast geographically, but it isn't that there are that many plays. To cover.
Well, the thing that I think is interesting about, you cover the regional theaters from the McCarter in Princeton to the Long Wharf up in Connecticut to the Goodspeed. Geographically, it's a lot of ground to cover, but there are also so many plays per se. On Broadway, we see fewer and fewer plays actually being done. And if it's Pete Gurney's latest play, which is being done in Connecticut somewhere, or whoever, you usually have seen the beginnings of whatever winds up. So I would imagine that there must be a number of producers who call you up and say, Alvin, what did you think about so and so? Or if they don't get to see,
I tell them to read the paper.
How many people do you think...
Having your brain picked like that is...
supposedly there's a great deal...
I'd be better off if I was some sort of play consultant, wouldn't I?
Well, play consultant or play doctor. There's that too.
It's what lawyers call unbillable time, I think.
Do you think that the papers have the power that they are sometimes accorded when a play opens? People say, well... This was a money review. The power of the critic. What is that
papers?
Exactly?
Are you talking about? A lot of papers?
I don't know. People say that arguably that Frank Rich or John Simon or someone could really make or break a play based on what their review, whether it was favorable or not. Oftentimes, if Frank Rich loved something, he saw it in Chicago or in London.
That's not his fault, and it's not John Simon's fault. I mean, I think it's the people's fault. If they read, and they read more than one person, but I mean, if they really read, rather than be expecting to be told that there's a difference between a critic and a consumer report or advocate. So
that's a wonderful distinction.
I don't think that.
What is that? I mean,
well, some reviewers, there's another distinction between reviewer and critic. I say the word critic because in Waiting for Godot, it's the ultimate put down, the pejorative, the worst thing you can call somebody.
They hurl insults at each other.
How does that go? You'd be good at
something,
saying the line.
Cretin, and then Dee responds, critic.
You see, that's the
Go-Go
lowest.
is just crushed.
That's it.
And there's nothing, at that point, Samuel Beckett writes, ... silence.
So, what do you think he had in mind?
Well, I noticed that his plays got shorter and shorter as he went along, so maybe it was...
I like one. Yeah, I like the one which is total silence. I always thought I'd be good in that.
Is that called silence, in fact, or is that called breath?
Or is it footfall? No, footfalls is where she is getting ready to die. So how did we get on this cheerful
Sam Beckett, well, talking about critics, I guess.
Yeah, right.
So,
but
following up on your point about avoidance...
I think people really should read. I mean, that's not such a terrible thing to ask or expect. I mean, after all, I know that I write 700, 800, 900 words, call it a review, and I like to think they say something beyond go, drop this newspaper right now, run for tickets, or, don't go. It was excruciating. I always want to do nonverbal reviews, actually. Maybe that's, they do thumbs up and thumbs down on television, right?
I guess that's true.
And
sort
they
of back
stars,
to the Coliseum.
Stars, camera eyes. So
maybe
that's what it's about. I don't know. I like to think it's about more, and that's about some substance. But
you're reacting to.
I realize more and more it's not.
You're reacting to things that you have a history with, or something that's brand new. It seems that you're called upon to do a great deal as you sit in the seat watching whatever it is you're watching. Recently, you reviewed a Tennessee Williams play up in Hartford, and I got to knowledge of your review, which seemed to me to help me to understand so many things about Tennessee Williams. I mean, what was that like when you went to review that play? You have seen so much Tennessee Williams that...
I saw that play in its original production, whenever that was. Also the movie version, which I guess everyone saw. Also a recent television version, which a lot of people saw. So you can't... were you about to ask me something about comparing? Because that's a question people usually... I mean, you compare, but we didn't see the original and you did, so we don't have that reference point. But
that's really my point, is that it must be exciting to know that I don't think there are a lot of critics who have been to just the sheer numbers of plays that you've seen. You've hardly missed an opening, I would imagine, in New York since we had this conversation since 55, 56, something like that. I mean, I think you've seen just about everything that's been done that's mainstream, and I know that you made it to almost every off-Broadway opening up until a point where, your schedule regionally began. You used to write for the paper in Stamford and then in Long Island, and I know that you were... I think, wooed by the paper in New Jersey to write, the major paper in New Jersey. And
they gave up.
I guess. But, I mean, the Times was lucky enough to get you, and so you've been busy.
Lucky Times. Oh, yeah, they are so privileged.
Lucky for some of us, I think. And so I guess it's harder and harder to see the 50-odd openings that are going on off-Broadway and Broadway.
Yeah. But you asking me, do I still see the off-Broadway? Yeah. Right.
So therefore, if you come to a play at Hartford, which you have seen the original of, what's that like? I mean, do you try to...
It's sometimes better. If a word I don't like to use, better, best, worse, good, bad, those are bad words. But it's a play doesn't... Well, maybe one or two you think you've seen a definitive production, and then suddenly you're startled by seeing somebody else interpret a role differently. Death of a Salesman, for example. I mean, I did see Lee Cobb, Mildred Dunn, so a moment of silence. But when I saw Dustin Hoffman do it, which this has nothing to do with Hartford, John Malkovich gave a performance as Biff that was, to me, a revelation. I've never seen Biff like that. So you see, it's great to have seen the original, but it's part of your experience. You bring that experience. I never saw Lorette Taylor in The Glass Menagerie, although I feel I have, but I never saw that. But I've seen probably a dozen Amandas since then.
Who was the best that you saw?
Well, Carrie Nye at the Phoenix, of course.
Well, okay, I'm glad to hear that. Yes.
Well, she, best or not, I don't think there has been a best Amanda, but she certainly was an Amanda with a difference. And the direction, this is the Phoenix Theater am I looking there? Which Bram is artistic director of. And Carrie Nye played Amanda, and Ellis Rabb directed it, and it was a production that said something, that had a reason to be on the stage. Unlike, I must say, in my opinion, the revival that, is it still running in Manhattan now?
I think it's just finished
just
now.
about finished. Well, it was finished before it started. Which is so full of irrelevant business, and also doesn't seem to have any handle at all on the play, except a very literal one, which is the last thing in the world you want to do. Glass Menagerie is to literalize it and say, oh yeah, this was his mother, and this was his sister, and yeah, she's going to get a lobotomy, and he's going to be writing plays, and there he is at the typewriter. I mean, come on. So, was there a question I'm answering, or am I just?
I think you've just answered it. I was saying, compare.
Well, the production I saw in Purchase, which is on the campus of the State University of New York. What do they call it? College now?
SUNY Purchase. It was called the College at Purchase, but it's not.
Yeah, that's because it was so clumsy to have to write. Because at times you have to be so exact and precise about every reference. So we would always have to say the State University of New York at Purchase. It was a really clumsy thing to stick in the middle of a sentence, So I'm very grateful. I think all names should be very short.
Like mud.
Institutional names should be very short.
The State University in the mud, or whatever.
Yeah. But that production that was at your theater, and it's very fresh in my mind, it was just this past summer, was, had a point of view and very interesting characterization, and that's the possibilities, especially with a play like Glass Menagerie. I mean, I remember very fondly, wistfully, sadly, teaching that play for so many years, and just having kids, grown-ups, college students, older people, just talk about the significance of the title. It would take days. So when it's so rich and there's so much in it, there's not just one way. You always look forward to.
Is there anything? You were a teacher. I like
to think I still am.
That's what I really want to get into.
It's like being an alcoholic. You're a recovering alcoholic, but you can't say a former alcoholic. And you can't say an ex something else, right? Isn't there something else that you're always... is it a priest, with all due respect? I'm not sure.
Well...
once you're a priest, you're always a priest?
Mm-hmm. So you're not a defrocked teacher, is this?
No.
Okay. No. All right. Is that something to do with the nature of criticism, that there's supposed to be some sort of teaching aspect to it?
There should be. Don't you think there should be?
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. But I really have learned through being an artistic director so much more about what the nature of criticism is about, because I've had to take so much more criticism in terms of running an organization. And it's been a lesson to me, because we get every year, I guess, maybe sometimes as many as 10 or 12 responses to a play that we do. And it's always interesting to me to see the diversity of opinion.
You mean 10 or 12 responses? You mean people write letters?
No, I mean newspaper articles, radio reviews. I mean official responses to the work that's done, critics and criticism. And it's been great for me to see the different values assigned to our work that are picked up on and discussed by different writers about our work. So it's been very much about learning and being taught through the response of the critics, and sometimes I learn a great deal through what someone has to say about a play that I think I know just about everything about, and then I read the criticism and think, well, my God, I didn't think...
More often you learn a great deal about the person who's writing it, right?
Well, sometimes that's...
You think you should or you shouldn't learn that?
I think that the more the response to the work, the more diversity of opinion, it's great, because then there's a lively debate. And I think that the debate is everything, that the jury is never out in art, that if the work is great enough and accords a lot of interest, a great play seems to keep coming up over and over again. Why Shakespeare or Williams gets done quite a lot. I mean, we did it at Purchase. It was done at the McCarter not too long ago. Arena Stage did the Glass Menagerie, and now it's at the Roundabout. I think that's 4 productions in 4 years.
And also, simultaneously, that may not be running anymore, but the Durang parody,
yes,
called For Whom the Southern Bell Tolls, was playing at Manhattan Theatre Club at the very same time that Glass Menagerie was at the Roundabout. And I'm not so sure about that timing. I mean, if you saw the making fun of it first and then you saw the real thing.
Yeah. Could set you up for the other, absolutely.
It's another thing.
What about, what was it that just you needed pocket money when you decided to start writing about plays? Or what was it that, how did it come about that you...
well, it came about when I was 7, I think. 8.
You wrote your first review then?
I just wrote reviews. In high school, I won some sort of prize, and teachers used to tell my parents that I was seeing too many plays, it wasn't healthy. So you see, they were right. It kind of gets you a little mixed up as far as reality goes, but then again, that's another thing too, right? So, I started. Are
you going to define reality for us in this context here?
Define it?
That's pretty great.
Well, didn't we talk about avoidance already?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I forgot. That's true.
Avoid it. Don't deny it. Just avoid it.
Okay. All right.
So I was always doing that. I mean, I was just doing it, in college for a school newspaper. But I didn't prepare to do it, professionally. I thought I should do something useful and grown up. So I got a graduate degree in psychology, and I taught, and I didn't think that I could ever really do, full-time, what I love to do anyway. So I started doing it for local papers. It just happened. Whether or not that was a fluke, I don't know. Maybe it's true that you make things happen yourself. I don't know what I made happen. I was there. Maybe sometimes being there and doing what you love to do, people notice it, and that works. I like to think that could still be true. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
What about the drama desk?
How did
that come to be?
The organization? Mm-hmm. Or me and the organization?
You and the organization.
Well, somebody asked me to be the president of it. I said, but I'm not even a member. They said join, and I became president, and that was for a few years, and that's over. I don't regard that as a credit to discuss. It's a professional organization, or should be. And
well, then, what about awards in general? What do you think about the giving of awards for work done in the theater? Does it have any merit? I mean,
the Drama Desk Awards have the merit of acknowledging theater in New York, wherever it is in New York. And so it doesn't have to be Broadway like the Tonys. The Tonys really don't mean very much when they're just considering the work of such a limited amount of the work that's seen during a season in New York.
Well, you said that there were 60 productions on Broadway, and now there may be 20 a year.
It doesn't mean that they were. I mean, there are the wonderful good old days that people like to talk about, and it was great that so much was happening, without the competition. Theater was a more natural part of somebody's life. But those 60 plays weren't, there was really a lot of garbage in those 60 plays. And so now, when there are only 20, the standards really become higher. So when something like that Margulies play, What's Wrong with This Picture,
Right.
Opens as one of a handful of 20-something plays during the course of one season, and is such a disaster, roundly penned, and it's worse than ever, because when things were better for theater and tickets were cheaper, more, all that stuff, you would see a number of plays like that a season. You say, all right, so that one was bad. But now a bad one like that stands out and becomes more ruinous to the whole... it's yet another death blow. And there have been so many, just in the past couple of months, one after another, to just tell people, like really in your face, Broadway is not what it's about. It's, it's not there. I mean, there is no there. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay, but at the same time, to play devil's advocate with you, I think
right.
you had an article about the roundup of things coming up in Connecticut. It sounded extraordinary.
Yeah,
the
most exciting theater I've seen this year has been in Connecticut.
So tell me about that a little
Fantastic.
bit. What's the relationship there? What was on? We had, let me see, there was Vita and Virginia, I think.
Well, that came to New York, so, I mean, nobody was trying to be devious about saying, it's not a try, which is another whole thing. Regional theaters knowing that they're trying out a play and not admitting it. I mean, that's a whole other issue. But they weren't playing games like that with Vita and Virginia. It had an opening date in New York, and it was good. So it was 2 weeks in Stamford first, which was great. Honestly great.
Yeah.
But also, I think that very same month, Stamford Theatre Works had a play by Israel Horowitz in which Elizabeth Wilson gave a luminous performance.
Isn't she amazing, Elizabeth Wilson? She's just such an incredible actress.
And Jim Dale and Brian Murray were in Traveled with My Aunt, Graham Greene, an adaptation in which 4 actors played, I think, 22 roles. And Dale and Murray in particular were extraordinary. They didn't play... Dale played the ant most of the time, as I remember it. Am I right about this? He didn't play 22 roles, and they were wonderful. So there was all this happening. Goodspeed was, I guess, at that time doing Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
And Patrick Stewart, I'm going to tout, who was at SUNY Purchase just this winter doing...
well, people have to realize that that's happening, wherever you live.
37 roles, just extraordinary, one-man tour de force.
I mean, it's very close to where you live. And I think that's a very important part. That's what regional theater is.
So maybe these losses on Broadway are actually being gains in another column, which one might say Connecticut, Westchester, wherever. That maybe it's pushing it a bit because Westchester has a history of, it's been a rocky place to go for professional theater, but certainly in Connecticut, and also I think northern New Jersey has had an extraordinary output in the last 5 or 10 years. I mean,
New Jersey has 12 to 14 fully professional theaters, equity theaters.
Doing, you would say, good work, not so good work?
Yeah, all of that, and the people in New Jersey should attend those theaters and support them.
And for the most part, they do seem to be supported. I mean, you have George Street and Crossroads and the New Jersey Shakespeare Festival and the McCarter. And
Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn has 42 or 44,000 subscribers, which is more than any nonprofit theater in the whole country.
Right. That's amazing.
So it's a myth about it having to be in New York. I mean, what is that? It's a status. It's like you have to. I don't understand the need that people have for that status, which has nothing to do with the quality of the work. When I saw Sunset Boulevard, am I allowed to talk about scalpers? Well, I mean,
please, absolutely.
The 4 women to my left had come in from Oregon, and their main reason was to see Sunset Boulevard, and they had each paid $175 a ticket. That's $105 over. 70 isn't expensive enough for a ticket. They paid $175. They got it from however they got it. I don't know, but they were thrilled to have paid that. And they were so determined to have a good time. They were going to let their money go down the tubes. So they were ecstatic to be there. They were ecstatic before it started. They were ecstatic to sit down. They were ecstatic during the show. They were ecstatic when it was over. I have no idea if one sentence about that musical could have been exchanged among them or among them and me. That had to do with what was on the stage, except for the staircase and the fact that it went up and down twice, and and she was. Well, I'm ready for my close-up.
There you go. I was going to ask you.
Am I ready?
Are you ready for your close-up? Because unfortunately, we're ready for our wrap-up.
It's over?
Which I can't believe because we've just
wow.
scratched the surface and there are about 10 zillion more
and we didn't spill the coffee.
No, not quite yet. Although we could get up and have a Chinese fire drill. Are you ready? Shall we do that for the wrap-up? Anyway, I do want to say thank you. This is the very first show.
You could tell.
Completely my
you
honor
could tell
to
it
have
was totally
Alvin Klein
unrehearsed.
with us. So thanks very much. In the wings.
This is Norman Liss. You have been watching a special edition of The Way to Go, in which I invited Bram Lewis to preview his future series. I'll be back next week at this time with more interesting guests and our regular feature, previews and reviews. Until then, enjoy yourself.